Testing. Is that good? Is it too loud? Okay.
Welcome, everyone. We are all very excited and actually nervous to share with you these stories and pictures from Tanzania. Having experienced the great love and hospitality of our brothers and sisters there, we just feel such a sense of responsibility to share as deeply as we can our story. So we're going to do kind of a round-robin thing. Each one of us is going to take a little time to share some stories and some pictures. And each one of us will tell you when questions are appropriate. Okay? So Wendy's going to get started.
Okay, and before I even start, I just want to tell you guys thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you're welcome for allowing me to do this. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life. And I can feel your prayers and your support, and I could not have gone without you, so thank you. Asante-san. This whole trip for me was about people, not just in Tanzania, but the people here too. I mean, we spent a long time getting ready and preparing and meeting together on Wednesdays, and you guys joined us in prayer during the time we were preparing. So one of the pictures here is of the group that came to St. Paul's to send us off on our trip, and everyone showed up and we all prayed together, and it was really wonderful and exciting. So I have so many stories that I'm having a really difficult time picking one. So I want to tell you probably the one that's the most personal for me. My friend Simon, who met Pastor Clark and Joe when they went last year, he and I have been emailing each other for over a year now. Just getting to know each other, just talking about what it's like to live and try to follow Jesus in the environment and the places that we're at. And he's really become my brother, and we really have a connection. So I shared with him through email just the stuff that was going on in my life with my kids and my husband, and I showed him pictures of the fireworks on 4th of July here. I showed him what corn looks like and the river and all those sorts of things. So I tried to share my life with him, and so while we were there, he asked me, just me and him, to come and meet his mom and dad, who live really close to Mpare. There's a picture of them in here, I'm sure. This is us at St. Paul's. So we walked from Mpare to his mom and dad's house, and on the way he showed me his uncle's farm, and he showed me the coffee that his dad grows, which I'm really excited about that, that his dad grows coffee. This is Simon and his daughters. This is their house. So we got there to meet his mom and dad, and they didn't speak any English, so he had to interpret for me. And this is them. His mom, his dad, his little sister, and Simon at their house. That woman's had 9 children. Unbelievable. So we communicated there, and there wasn't a lot I could say other than, you've raised a really good son, and he had really good roots. And so we talked for a little while, and we shared some things. And then when we got to leave, they brought out the charger for their phone, and they're like, "Simon, our phone doesn't work. Can you help us fix it?" And just like the teenagers here, he's like all annoyed that his parents are asking him to fix his electronics. And it made me realize these people are just like us. They might live in a different place, but they have the same, they have family, they have struggles, they have, parents that don't know how to use their phone, and so they have to ask their son, who is annoyed that they're embarrassing him in front of his, friend, and all of that kind of stuff. So I just want to share with you that they're the same, and they feel about you the way that you feel about them. So, like I said, there's so many ways and stories I could show about this. I just have pictures here of people. These are the girls that Every morning they would make my breakfast and they would clean my room and they would wash my clothes, and they just wanted, all in the world they wanted was to touch my hair. And to braid it, and just, and I mean, it was just a wonderful to connect with people. So what I did was I texted Pastor Fouet and Simon and his wife Susan, and I asked them to tell me what our visit meant to them. So I just want to share those with you. Susan's is Swahili, so it might be a little. She said, first of all, just the fact that you would come at your own expense to say hello to us is unbelievable. This wasn't cheap for you guys to do this. And we actually, to go to their house in Mbulu, we had to drive on a really bad road for a really long time to get there, covered in red dust. They just felt so honored that we would make that effort. And we went and we baptized their daughters there, and I got to be the godmother for Joy. So they included us as part of their family, but she said that she was so honored for us to want to even do that. And the last thing is just that she could really feel the love and joy that we had in coming there, and that really meant a lot to her. So, and she wanted me to read Psalm 125 as a blessing to this congregation, so I'm going to do that. As soon as it loads. Come on. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people, from this time forth and forevermore. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good, and to those who are upright in their hearts. But those who turn aside to their crooked ways, the Lord will lead away with evildoers. Peace be upon Israel. And this is her blessing to us, that she believes that the Lord surrounds us and them, and that together the Lord's going to do good to us. And then Simon and Pastor Fouet kind of actually had the same answer to this question. Pastor Fouet said that the willingness for us to go to all four of the congregations really blessed the people there. Because last time you guys weren't able to go to all of them, and there was some strife there over, are we playing favorites, or do only certain people matter? So the fact that we would go to all of them really, really meant something to them. He said that the Bible study that we did and your sermon on Sunday, he said that made them feel like we really do have the same faith, that we talked about the same things and the same things were important to us. He said all the visitors were full of unconditional love and acceptance, to the extent that they are like native Kirangares, because we just came to their homes and we live with them the way that they live, and you can see some of the way the kitchens are here in the homes. They're not like our homes, but we just wanted to be with them. So, we didn't complain about it. And that meant something to them, that we would just accept them the way that they were. He said the fact that we brought men and women this time made everyone in the congregation feel like they were included. It wasn't just the men coming, it was the women coming too. And that was a really great way to represent Zion for all of us to come. He said the singing and dancing together, the fact that we would worship together the way that they worshiped, made them feel like we were one, like we were all part of it. And the fact that we would put a little effort into learning Swahili really blessed people too. We didn't know a whole lot of Swahili, but we knew a few little things to say. And just the fact that we would make the effort really blessed them. And then the last one is that the fact that we promised to come back next year and keep it going meant that they really believe that we really do care for them and that we really are committed to them. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and then I'll let some other people tell some stories too. So, any questions or anything you guys wanted to ask me? Oh, okay. Yes.
What's the temperature like where you guys were
It was actually just like it was here. It was like about low 80s, but it wasn't nearly as humid. So I thought it was great. In the evening, it got down to the high 60s, you know, with the breeze and stuff. So they kept asking if I needed a blanket, and I'm like, no. I'm wearing shorts, you know. And they're all freezing. They're all wearing like hats and winter coats, and because they think it's cold. But I thought it was perfect. So. Yes, those two. And that's why I said these are all. I mean, we had to ride on motorcycles, which I am terrified of motorcycles, but for some reason I could get on these and I wasn't afraid at all. But this is the only way to go. I wanted to show you guys this. We got hymnals from the bishop's office. This is the Apostles' Creed in Swahili, and this is the Lord's Prayer in Swahili. And they are the same words, okay? They're exactly the same. So, you know, you may not feel like you've gotten a lot of comment, but we know the same prayers, and we know the same creed. We're together. We're the same. So, okay. So, what was next?
I want to, sorry, they always told me I don't talk loud enough, and I guess I did that time. My thing is, I want to thank you all, and I am going to cry. Excuse me, but you know me, I cry. Stop laughing. I want to thank you, because I was the last person in the world to understand why I was going. But the first person to say, yes, I'm going. I met people there that made me realize how lucky I am to be where I'm at and to have what I have and to quit griping about what I don't have. I met people there who showed me God's love in so many, many ways. They took me in their home, called me their sister, and gave me the best that they had. I did not live like a queen, that's for sure. But I was so comfortable and so warmed with love from this family that during the week, they would bring my food, they would cook the food, they chopped the wood to cook the food. They, had to go get the food out of the ground because they grow the food. I was on a farm. Imagine I'm on a farm. All of the family, there's a lot of families that live in this little area and farm this land, and they had little kids everywhere. So the oddest part was being able to see these little children and talk to them, but they had no clue what I was saying. And then they kept staring at me, and it finally dawned on me they had never seen a white woman before. So I went, oh, okay, that's why. And that's fine. I let them stare. I was fine with that. As soon as I woke up, realized, partway through the week, they said, well, when we go to Mpare on Sunday for our service, there's going to be a baptism. And I was staying with Maramba, who was the evangelist in Mpare. His granddaughter is 3.5, and they asked me to be her sponsor for baptism. And I was so moved that they would give me such an honor that it just was wonderful. I'll never forget the love I received from everybody there. The joy we felt while we worshiped, even though we didn't know what the words were. The joy and the love we saw in their singing and their dancing. And then to see the country after we left Kirangare and we got to go to some of the tourist areas, we went on the safari. To see the animals in their nature. Oh my gosh, it took my breath away. And then Mount Kilimanjaro was stunning. We didn't get to see a lot of it because we were far away, but we saw it. And all I could look out over and see all these gorgeous mountains and think, our God is an awesome God. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was going to dry my face. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Do they have a decent health care in their villages? Or
No.
what about the
They have some health care.
the mortality of the kids over there?
they have doctors, and Pastor Clark can tell you about the doctor that visited him when he had a little stomach bug, but they do have doctors. My wish for them is that somehow we could get better health care and dental care to help them live healthy and longer without spoiling their beautiful community.
That kind of reminds me, Upendo, who is Pastor Kibatero's wife, she's visited here several years ago, asked me what they'd like is for someone to come, a nurse, an intern, someone from the medical community here who might be interested in coming there to help them establish some kind of a clinic there. They used to have a clinic there by the Catholic Church, but that's the buildings now that we're using for the vocational school. So, so if you guys know anybody or have any connections with any healthcare providers who might have a program for people that would want to go over and do this, please let me know, because I would like to connect them with Upendo.
Any other questions? Yeah.
What is the lifespan of the people?
I don't know what the lifespan is. Do you have any idea on that?
I just looked at a couple of demographic charts, and so these showed they were like the amount of people in a certain age range, in both men and women. And in the United States, it kind of goes like this. But in Tanzania, it goes like that. So there is it's a much younger community as a result. But I couldn't give you a number about like what the average life expectancy is or anything like that.
Good segue though. Pastor Cubatero celebrated his 80th birthday on the 6th. Today's the 8th, so 2 days ago. So, and he is still out there with his machete, harvesting and planting and doing everything that that he needs to do for sustenance. One of the things that I was so overwhelmed with was when we first arrived, we were hailed. I almost felt like I was kind of like Jesus riding into Jerusalem. The first church we went to, which I believe was the Kirangare parish, all the women and children, and there were several men as well, but they were there putting leis on us and giving us bouquets of flowers, and I just thought, we're nobody special here, but yet they certainly elevated us. And it's like Julie said, we weren't queens there, but boy, they certainly treated us like that. And that took some getting used to. So many different things that are just amazing. It was wonderful staying with Upendo and Pastor Kay, and I believe Upendo wants to come this way in a couple of years, and so we've talked amongst us about doing some fundraising so that we can help in that cause of bringing some of them to visit with us again. Let's see here. We did our best to make sure that these people knew that it wasn't just us 5 people, but it was our whole congregation that was sending their love and their kindness and support. They really loved the jump ropes. There's hopefully some pictures in there of littles and bigs all alike jumping rope. The teenage girls amazed us because they used them for fashion. They wrapped them around like necklaces and things like that, which was, and like Wendy just said, it was amazing and beautiful, and we were somewhat surprised to see that. I was anyway. The love that they displayed to us. Growing up in the 70s, there was a song that said, "We are one in the spirit," that I would hear at Chi Alpha, a Christian group at college in Iowa City. And That was one of the overwhelming feelings that I had that whole time we were there. Another feeling is, again, the love from you and your prayers. I have an anxiety disorder. I freely admit it. I'm a nervous person. But when Impendo and I were walking down the trail from the road down to her home that first night, it was 9 o'clock. It was very dark. And I'm dragging a suitcase behind me, and it's dark, and there aren't city lights or anything like that, and I just was so aware of how calm and peaceful I felt. And I thought, this is weird to me. I am not afraid. I don't feel any fear whatsoever. There are streets here in Davenport that raise my anxiety, but there, the whole entire time, there was absolutely no anxiety, and it was amazing. So anyway, thank you for supporting us in every way that you did, and it was wonderful and amazing, and I look forward to next September when we'll return. Oh, any questions? No? Okay.
Joseph has some videos to show, and we'll have to swap out the USB, so I'll go next, and he can show us after that what that's all about. I'm going to go before you, if that's okay. Okay? Let me just introduce you to some of the cast of characters and kind of lay out a little bit of the landscape. So Kirangare Lutheran Parish is what we would consider 4 congregations. There's 4 different sites where people come together to worship. One is in Kirangare, which is the center. Kirangare, Idaru, Pare, and Marindi. Those are the 4 congregations, we would call them, that make up Kirangare Lutheran Parish. Pastor Kivatero, who you guys were mentioning, Pastor Kivatero is the retired pastor of the congregation of the parish, and he is the first who came and visited here. He was the pastor there when this companionship was formed in the early 2000s, over 20 years ago. So he and his wife Impendo have been real champions of this for a long time. Pastor Fue is the pastor now. He lives at some distance away. His family lives at some distance away from Kirangare. So he lives with his mother. He grew up in Kirangare. And his family lives some hours away because his wife is the head teacher at the School for the Deaf, which is one of 2 schools for the deaf in the whole country of Tanzania. When we came back last year, we invested, we had a Kirangare thank offering, and we invested in some projects. There were a handful of ways we invested. One was we set some money aside to support travelers this year. So all of our 4 travelers here received $800, money that you gave to make the trip more affordable. It was probably altogether, it was probably about $2,000 between the flight and the travel in country, the car, and lodging, and our safari as well. So that's one of the ways that we invested, is to continue the relationship. Then we invested in 3 specific projects. 2 were in Kirangare Parish, and 1 was at the School for the Deaf. So at the School for the Deaf, we gave $1,000 to make to level and prepare a sports field. It's a school for the deaf, and so there's not the same kind of integration of hearing and deaf children as there is here in the United States. And so sports is one of the ways that gulf can be bridged. And so that's what you're investing in. And we got to go and see the sports field. This was in an order it was all wonderful, and then we put it in the TV, and the TV all scrambled it. So when that picture comes up, I'll point it out to you. They are partway through finishing that right now. That was one project at the School for the Deaf. Then there were two projects in Kirangare. Actually, one is in Kirangare, the center, and the other is in Adaru. In Adaru, it's the Vocational Training Center. You may remember us saying from last time that unemployment is a huge problem, especially unemployment with youth and women. And so they have a vision for the Vocational Training Center. But where they're starting is with sewing and tailoring. So we invested, I can't remember, about $2,000, I think. And they already had the building. It was the old clinic in Adaru that is no longer being used. But we paid for their sewing machines, and they got like 13 sewing machines, the transport to get them there, shears, and other kinds of stuff, other equipment that they need. And so as soon as the relationship is kind of firmed up between Kirangare Lutheran Parish and Adaru Catholic Parish, which is sharing the building, as soon as that gets sorted out between the two bishops, you know, all the bureaucracy, red tape.
Actually, I talked to Pastor Bouet, and he said that October 23rd is when they're supposed to start.
October 23rd.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. So that's the day that classes will begin, and students who are already enrolled will begin to learn how to sew, how to tailor shirts. So maybe you remember last year, Joseph and I got measured, and we came home with shirts. They bought the fabric, they handed it over to the tailor measured us, now we have shirts. So Kirangare, folks in Kirangare and the surrounding area will be able to do that. And in the future, they hope to add other vocations to training in construction, training in, I don't know what else. They have a long-term vision that this would be a center that in the whole region it would be known and people could come and be a part of it and hopefully get a job, whether it's down the mountain in the valley in the town called Hidaru, or off in another place, but where people could begin to start earning their own income and not be unemployed anymore. The last thing that we invested in was an expansion of the daycare, the Zion daycare. They named the daycare after us as a sign of their love for us. This is the cornerstone of the new building that we invested in, $1,000 that they, through their efforts, multiplied into $5,000. Their workers and their craftspeople, this is where the sewing machines will be in Adaru, the Vocational Training Center. So whether it was by the donation of the time and the effort of the workers and whatever else, they multiplied the 1,000 that we gave into 5,000, and they're building, this is the pastor, the priest, the Catholic priest, the building that we're using here are the sewing machines in Adaru that you invested in. So kids, little kids, you know, like 1 and 2 and 3 years old, before they're school age, they're just with mom all day. And what mom is doing all day is farming, taking care of cows, etc. And so they're just hanging out in the dirt or in the kitchen or wherever. And this is especially a problem for families, low-income families, poor families. And so the daycare was created to give a place for these young people to go and also to begin to teach them English so that they would be prepared when school started. Everybody learns their own tribal language, Pare, in the home, and then when they go to school, they learn Swahili and English, starting in what we would call kindergarten. The Zion Daycare gives young children, poor children, a bit of a leg up there because they already learn the alphabet You know, they know how to sing some songs about brushing teeth, etc. in English. They are more prepared to be more successful in school, in public school, because of the Zion daycare. And the building will enable them to have day-long daycare. They're going to prepare meals, so they'll stay not just for the morning, but for the whole day. And it's going to be kind of taking what they do to the next level, expanding the room by at least 2 or 3 times the size the room is now. So those are the projects that we have invested in the past, and we got to go and see what they're like now. And it would be easier to show you if the TV was cooperating. But let me just pause there and ask if you have any questions about, Kirangare Parish, about the area, about the projects that we've invested in so far. Yeah.
Do the sewing machines need electricity?
Oh, wait, you've got 2 people talking at one time. Go ahead, Opal, why don't you start, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
I was just wondering about sewing machines, were they treadles? Yes.
Yes, treadle sewing machines.
Same question.
Oh, great minds think alike.
I was just wondering,
Yeah, they're not like, your fancy,
no, but I in the treadle machines, yeah.
Very electricity goes off and on quite easily, so, an electric machine could be really difficult. It could stop right in the middle of whatever you're doing.
So the electricity just goes off sometimes, usually in the evening, and often it's planned, and they'll get a notice, will go out that the electricity is going to be turned off, but we would call those brownouts here, but it could be just any time. The electricity in the village could just go out.
I know at
They're
Simon's
not
house.
really treadles.
Oh, yes.
They're treadles that you use electricity.
No, they are treadle machines. We're just saying, if we tried to use an electric machine there, it would be very unreliable. So, yeah.
Treadles are.
Yeah. Jay?
When we send money,
Mm-hmm.
where do we send it and how does it get to where it needs to be?
Yeah, good question. We learned a lot about that, and it took a lot longer than we thought it would. So the Kirangare thank offering we received right around Thanksgiving, November. It was, I think, February or March until they actually had the money. So first, we send the money to the Southeastern Iowa Synod. The Synod then gathers those money and sends those to the Diocese of Pare Diocese, and then the Pare Diocese writes a check, and Pastor Fouet comes to the diocese office and takes that check and deposits it in the church, Kirangare Parish accounts. So after we've learned all of that, it's been very much more streamlined. So for example, in the budget for 2023, we are giving a gift to Kirangare, like a regular monthly offering of $200 a month. And we are collecting that in little quarterly bundles, and we send it over. And it goes much faster now, because we know how to do it. We just send it to the Synod, and then a couple of weeks later, then there's a check that Pastor Fouet picks up from the bishop.
And then he decides how to disperse it, or?
No, there are leaders there. There's a parish council, just like there's a church council here. There's with representatives from each of those 4 preaching points. Pastor Fouet also serves alongside of 5 evangelists, who are people who've been trained for 2 years at Bible school, and they preach when he's not in Agaru and he's in Marindi. Then there's evangelists in Pare and in Daru leading worship and stuff. So they have that kind of staff that also makes decisions. So yeah, when we've earmarked things, though, it goes right to the projects that we've
I don't
earmarked
know
for.
if the companionship committee also helps make some of those decisions, don't they? Or do they?
I don't know. There is a companionship committee, and I don't know what kind of decision-making they have in how the money is used, at $200 a month that we send. They do have some oversight, especially in what projects they're going to work on next and what projects they're going to tell us about, so that we have an opportunity to spread the love to all 4 of those preaching points. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the cooking situation like? What kind of food or how they cook it and stuff?
Yeah. So imagine a big long branch that they stick into the fire, the wood burning fireplace, and as it burns down, they just keep pushing that branch in, and that's what creates the heat for the food that they're preparing. A lot of what we ate was starchy, rice and potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes, like varieties of potatoes and yams and things that we don't have around here. And local vegetables, vegetables that they grow, a lot of tomatoes, tomato-based sauces and things. And, because we were there, they, killed the fatted calf for us. So
we had meat for breakfast every morning.
Yeah.
And they don't normally.
Yeah, that's right.
I did, on the farm, I did.
Yeah, I did.
So they do not eat a whole lot of meat on a regular basis, but because we were there, they made sure that every meal had meat. Most of the hosts did. Each of the 5 of us were staying in different homes, so different people were preparing the food. The menu was different in each house, but normally, they're not eating chicken and beef for breakfast, but because I was at Pastor Fue's mother's house, we had chicken and beef for breakfast. So that's a little bit of a window into the food. Yeah.
Did you guys drink warm milk?
Warm milk?
Well, yeah, you said they have no refrigeration, so.
Oh, well, they don't drink cold milk, that's for sure. Yeah.
They boil it. Usually it's hot.
Yeah, usually it's for tea and coffee and things. Yeah, and probably they also use it in cooking sauces and things, but I, didn't get in the kitchen to see how that happened. But yeah, the milk that we had was all just hot boiled in a thermos for tea and coffee. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like we're not the only congregation that is supporting them. Is that correct?
No, we are the only congregation that's supporting Kirangare Lutheran Parish. So back in 2000 or 2001, there was a companionship was created between the Pare Diocese and the Southeastern Iowa Synod, which we're a part. And so a handful of congregations, I think there were 18 maybe congregations paired from Southeastern Iowa with parishes in the Pare Diocese back in 2000, 2001. And we are the only one partnered in companionship with Kirangare Lutheran Parish. Over the years, just like ours kind of fell away. By 2010 or so, we had lost contact. We're not in regular communication. That has happened across our synod, and many congregations in Iowa here have lost contact and fallen away from the companionship. So that at this point, there's maybe 5 or 6, half a dozen congregations that are still in an active companionship with parishes, other parishes, separate parishes in Pare Diocese. And so the bishop asked, the bishop is interested in rekindling these and asked me to help rekindle the relationship that another parish in Tanzania and Pare has with St. Paul Lutheran Church, for example. Yeah. But we are the only one partnered with Kirangare. Yes? There are about 40 kids in the daycare. Yeah.
And they have 1 teacher.
With 1 teacher. Yeah.
She knows how to jump rope.
She's great and she knows how to jump rope, yes. Yeah.
Did each of you have a translator in each home, or was there someone within the home that spoke English?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, no, kind of. I stayed with Pastor Fue and he speaks English fluently. Joseph stayed with Jasper, who's the chair of the companionship committee, and he, in his previous career, worked in the like hospitality and safari industry in Arusha, and so he speaks English and a handful of other languages well enough to work with tourists. So then Simon is hosted Wendy, and Simon is a teacher at the secondary school, and he speaks fluent English as well. Mary stayed with Pastor Tivatero and Upendo, and they speak pretty good English as well.
I stayed with Marambo and his wife Elisante, Happy Elisante. They have very little English. He had some, but not much, and she, I don't believe, had any English. Their daughter-in-law brought their 3.5-year-old, left her husband back in the city where they live, and came and stayed to help take care of me and be my translator, which just was amazing to me that they would give that much to help me be comfortable. And she was just a wonderful young lady.
Thank you.
So, and because I got to talk to Simon about this, and he's a teacher, in Tanzania, when the kids go to school, they all go to primary school, which is like our elementary school. And there, all their classes are in Swahili, and they have one class in English. And when they finish, they have to take a test to see if they have an aptitude for going to high school, or like junior high school. If they pass the test and they're accepted at school, then all of their classes are in English, and they have one class in Swahili. So it is kind of a measure of the level of your education, how much English you can speak. So, I mean, Simon's a high school teacher, so that's why he speaks. But for instance, his wife is an elementary school teacher, and she speaks far less English than he does.
So it was very valuable for us to know even a little bit of Swahili. I mean, there were plenty of times when, Pastor Fu is a pastor, he's got lots of things to do, and I'm just sitting alone with his family, wishing that I could have a conversation with his son Jerry, or his mother, or Loveness. Yeah, we definitely hope to maybe even find a tutor. I know the groups that went before had a Swahili tutor, right? Or somebody connected with that. Anyway, we want to learn more Swahili next time we come back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2 questions.
Yes.
Medical issues. Is the Ganja Hospital still operational?
I'm not sure about the Ganja Hospital specifically. Do you know where that was?
No.
Okay.
I know we were there.
Well, let me tell you my healthcare story. So while I was in Kirangare, I got traveler's gut. It was not pleasant. And Pastor Fue and his mother were up in the middle of the night with me. They gave me home remedies, and that didn't help. And then in the morning, they called the doctor. The doctor works at the clinic, which is in Kirangare. You may remember photos of the clinic from last year. It's a building with 8 rooms. The one room with electricity is the labor and delivery room. So there's a minimum of medical care. If there's anything more serious, you gotta ride a motorbike, or if you're really lucky, you get a car down the Rocky Mountain to Hidaru, and then go on to Same if you really need medical care. So you're talking about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of travel to get to a hospital. Now, thankfully, I didn't need a hospital, but the doctor came in the morning, and he took my pulse, he took my blood pressure, and he says, "You fear. You're afraid. Your blood pressure is up because you're afraid." And I said, "Uh-huh." He says, "You don't need to be afraid." And so he diagnosed me with diarrhea as a result of a mixture of foods. And he gave me a whole bunch of antibiotics. Yeah, he gave me 30 pills, 30 antibiotic pills. the course of antibiotics that he gave me was only 10 pills. And then he said, well, when you feel better, stop taking them. He also had IV bottles. They weren't bags, they're bottles, but they're the same thing. He asked if I wanted an IV or if I wanted to drink it. And I said, I'll drink it. And so he's just holding up a bottle, and I'm sucking on the end of the line. I mean, so, you know, Gatorade or Powerade or whatever, I imagine that what I was drinking tasted like that if there was no sugar or flavoring in it. It was basically just salt water is what I was drinking. So thankfully I improved, but that's just a little tiny window into what healthcare is like there. You know, it's rudimentary in the village, and you know, like I said, there's a labor and delivery room in the clinic, so women have their babies in the clinic. They don't have running water inside the clinic, and so it's. I remember last year that was kind of the low point for me, is visiting the clinic, having come to know and love these people here, and be like, whoa, this level of care is far below what we would expect. So when we traveled, we had we bought extra medical insurance, and the main reason for that was so that if we were very seriously either ill or injured, we would be evacuated from Tanzania and we would go somewhere else that had better medical care. But of course, none of us had major problems at all. Yeah. Yes?
Life expectancy, 66.
66.
What Google says.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Google. Yeah, so Pastor Kivatero at 80 is far exceeding the life expectancy.
Well, and when it comes around, his wife, Upendo, who is 75, like, she's a tank. I mean, she's, you know, she's like, you guys need a rest. Let me go do this for you. Let me carry your backpack.
They wouldn't let us carry anything.
Right. So, in some ways, it's a little. I mean, they don't have the obesity problem. They don't have the, some of it, but they don't have dental care either. So you either have all your teeth or you have none of your teeth. That's kind of the way it is, So, but yeah, some people live a lot longer, So.
Well, let's show the videos. Are you ready, Joseph?
Okay, now, we are winging this at this point because the videos may have to have this all software with it, and since we don't have a computer connected up, we may have to do it. For those, I literally took, go to the church first. Yeah, you were at the church? I think that's, see if that comes up. It may not. Because if any of the videos don't come up. Oh, it does. Good. The building over there was the church. That was from the baptism that we were at. And
Okay. This is the song.
Yeah.
one of the reasons is because most of these videos are either a minute or up to 8 or 9 minutes long, for the sake, if you can get to, go to the one where it transport. That one we can stay with for a minute. One of the things that it run, one of the things is, I'm just getting on the bike right now, so, and I'm not driving the bike, but now here's what, if you look at it, you'll see the scenery that's there. And
This is the road to the Lindy.
this is the road to the school that we were going to. And now, imagine, I'm on the back of this. I lost it, okay. I'm on the back of the bike. And imagine you're on the back of this bike. Now look to your left and look to your right. And as we go down the road, look to your left, you see that there's scenery down there, way down there. And if you look at it, you're gonna feel almost like you're on the bike as it goes down. It looks a lot more scary than what it is.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Okay. Once you're on the bike, and this is because of the bike drivers.
The drivers kept
Yeah.
us so safe.
And
Yeah.
focused on our comfort.
They
did.
really, I mean, they got to a place they'll slow down and everything just to get us through without hurting us too badly. Now, some of the roads are pretty bouncy, so.
No.
Right to the left, there's a bunch of banana trees are everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. Remember, this is a farming community. And so even though we're in the mountains, as you look around at the different areas, you'll see that there's farming. And by the way, they did not have concrete walkways for you to go to a house.
No.
You walked on a dirt path. And the dirt path goes up or it goes down. And yes, they didn't clean it off and level everything out for you so that you can go up. And they don't have the 8-inch step so that you can step up the steps. That may sound kind of crazy. This is part of what's there now. What I also have to say along with this is that this is my second time there. That was my second time. So a lot of this was not a surprise to me. And after riding on the bike last year, I kind of expected a lot of this. Maybe I should say, can everybody hear me without this?
No.
No? Okay. Speak on it. Okay.
I don't know. Give it back. Can't hear that one at all.
That's it? Yeah.
No.
That may be the only one that's on. I've been accused of being full of static anyway, so that just fits right in. If you can move on to the next one. Let's see. Oh. That's where the donkey's at. Yeah. At one of the churches, when we went there, we went down in the valley. And this is where
by the way, in the blue hat.
yes. And she holds on to Mary all the time. So Mary. These are the donkeys that they use to take supplies all over the area. They go up hills, down hills, and they wanted us to know these